All right, so ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Science with Mama J. Today, what we're going to be going over with is density. We're going to be talking about some areas of density application that I've seen some of us struggle with. So the very first question I want to discuss is you have a rod that is you cut a piece of a rod that is 5 centimeters long, okay? And it has a volume of 4 cubic centimeters, okay? And so this is its volume, this is the length, and the mass is equal to 20 grams, okay? So the question is asking, suppose another piece of the rod is cut that is 3 times as long. Okay, so then that would be 15 centimeters. Okay, the question is, what is its mass in grams? Okay, so if it is 5 centimeters long and the rod is uniform and it's got a mass of 20 grams, well then the uniform rod, the 20 gram mass is going to be 3 times as great as well. And it's going to be, 60 grams. Okay? So it will be 60 grams. So because it is a uniform rod throughout, 5 cubic centimeters, or 5 centimeters in length, is going to 15, is 3 times as long. So if the length is going to be 3 times as long, then the mass is going to be 3 times as great. Okay? Now, the next question, a lot of people had a problem with this question. So the question reads, the density of water is 1. The density of oil is 0.91. What is the volume of oil in cubic centimeters that has the same mass as 150 cubic centimeters of water? So let's go ahead and set this problem up first, okay? So we have water and we have oil, okay? We know the density of the water is 1. We know the density of the oil is equal to 0.91. And we know the mass, okay, of the water is equal to 150 grams, okay? Oh, I'm sorry, not the mass, the volume of the water is 150 cubic centimeters. Okay? That is what we know so far. So the question is asking, what is the volume of oil that has the same mass as 150 cubic centimeters of oil? Okay, so we're going to have to do a little bit of math for this one. So let me go ahead and grab my calculator. So now water, we do know the density formula is equal to density is equal to mass divided by volume. But one thing we all know is, since the density of water is 1 is equal to mass divided by 150 cubic centimeters. Well, we know the rule that any number divided by itself is equal to 1, so we know the mass is equal to 150 grams. Okay? So the question asks, what is the volume of oil that has the same mass as 150 cubic centimeters of water? Well, 150 cubic centimeters of water is 150 grams. So we're looking at a mass of 150 grams. So now that we have the mass and we have the density, we can solve for volume. So I showed you the triangle where density is equal to mass over volume. So looking at this, solving for volume, volume is equal to mass divided by density. It is equal to 150 grams divided by 0.91 grams per cubic centimeter. Okay, so 150 divided by 0.91 equals 164.8. Okay, so that is how we would solve that problem. So always identify what your knowns are first and then see what you can figure out. Given the volume and the density of water, we could definitely solve for mass. Once we have the mass here, we can then go ahead and plug it in here and we have the two variables, we can solve for the third. Okay, so the third question we're going to look at is a table. So we have 3 substances in the table. Okay, so this has a volume. Okay, so this is volume, this is the object, and this here is the mass. Okay, so the volume here are 10, 25, and 20, and the mass here is 20, 75, and 40. So the question that we're looking at here is which blocks could be made of the same material, okay? So, well, what we know, density is a characteristic property of a substance. No matter how much or how little of a substance you have, the density will never change. So looking at here, all we have to do is calculate the density of all 3 objects. So mass divided by volume. For object 1, it's 20 over 10. For object 2, it is 75 over 25. And for object 3, it is 40 over 20. While this is 2, this is 3, and this is 2. So objects 1 and 3 can be the same object since they have the same density. And the last question that we're looking at is a graph, okay? And it is determining the relationship between density and volume. Okay? So, the one thing we do know, density is a characteristic property of a substance. So here's the volume of the substance and here's the density of the substance. Okay, so let's say this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, again, density is a characteristic property of a substance. No matter how much or how little of the substance you have, the density does not change. So if I have 1 gram per cubic centimeter of the substance, and my density is, let's say, 4 if I have 1 cubic centimeter of the substance, the density is going to be 4. Okay, let's say its density is 4 grams per cubic centimeter. If I have 2 cubic centimeters of the substance, the density is still going to be 4 grams per cubic centimeter. If I have 3 cubic centimeters of the substance, it's still going to have a density of 4 grams per cubic centimeter. The density doesn't change. It doesn't matter how much or how little of the substance you have. Okay, so if you are comparing the density of the substance versus the volume, it is linear. Okay, so I hope this explains some of the application questions that we had concerning density. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment on the video or send me a message and I'll be happy to answer you. Thank you for listening, and I hope you guys have a great night. Bye.